Okay, picture this. You're sitting in a warm, incredibly dark Victorian study. The firelight is flickering, right? It's casting these long, creepy shadows against the walls. Brass clocks are just ticking loudly in the background, and the air is completely thick with smoke, curling from the pipes of these highly educated, very serious men. And they are all gathered to hear an idea that goes against literally everything they know to be true. An impossible idea. So welcome to this explainer of H.G. Wells's absolute masterpiece, The Time Machine. Let's just dive straight in and explore a story that completely rewrote our entire understanding of the future. So our host for this strange evening is a brilliant but, slightly mysterious scientist who's known only as the Time Traveler. And he poses this totally radical question to the room. What if time was actually a dimension? He argues to his very skeptical guests, we're talking a medical man, a psychologist, a journalist, that time actually has duration, exactly like a physical object has length, breadth, and thickness. He insists that a person isn't just a body taking up space, but a being stretched across time, all the way from childhood to old age.
Part 1. The fourth dimension. The experimental proof.
He makes a tiny ivory machine vanish into thin air right in front of them to prove his point. But then, a week later, he stumbles into the next dinner party, just filthy, limping, pale, and covered in blood. After resting up a bit, he tells them his completely terrifying tale. He sat on his full-size machine, pulled the lever, and the world just became this dizzying storm. Days and nights flashed by like the beating of wings. The sun raced across the sky as he plunged forward, farther and farther, until the dial finally stopped on a staggering year, 802,001 AD. I mean, that is a mind-boggling leap into humanity's distant future. Part 2. A hollow paradise, where things aren't quite what they seem.
So, the time traveler finds himself in this incredibly warm, lush, green landscape surrounded by graceful, childlike humans called the Eloi. But it's this hollow golden age. There are no books, no science, just decaying ruins everywhere. And then, the tone of his incredible discovery takes a sharp, dreadful turn. He walks back to the lawn where he arrived, and the machine is gone. Just gone. Only drag marks remain on the grass, and this sudden realization washes over him. His machine has been dragged into the locked bronze pedestal of a massive white sphinx statue nearby. Without it, he is utterly, hopelessly trapped over 800,000 years in the future.
Part 3. The Morlock truth. The shadows lurking in the dark.
As night falls, the Eloi completely hide in terror. Investigating this, our traveler hears the deep thumping of heavy machinery echoing from these dark, bottomless wells scattered around. And here is the horrifying truth. Humanity hasn't just evolved, it is completely split in two. Up above ground are the Eloi, soft, beautiful, and directly descended from the privileged classes who once lived in comfort. But below ground are the Morlocks, pale, ape-like, and descended from the laboring classes who were literally pushed into the dark to run the machinery of civilization.
But listen to this, because the power dynamic has drastically shifted over hundreds of thousands of years. The time traveler makes a terrifying realization. The Morlocks, they aren't the servants of the Eloi anymore. They are the true masters. They maintain the machinery below. And yeah, they fear the light, but they emerge at night to feed. The Eloi are essentially livestock. This beautiful, peaceful garden world is literally nothing but a farm.
Part 4. Escape to the end. A desperate run for survival.
Now hunted and desperate, the Traveler and Weena, an Eloi women he actually saved from drowning earlier, flee toward a ruined, ancient museum known as the Palace of Green Porcelain. Inside this crumbling tomb of human knowledge, he's just frantically scavenging for anything to survive. He secures an iron lever from a broken machine to use as a weapon. He finds some matches, and he gathers camphor, which is a highly flammable substance, just to build a fire. But as night begins to fall in the forest outside, you realize these defenses seem terribly, dangerously meager against what is waiting for them in the dark.
So he builds a campfire in the forest to keep the Morlocks at bay, making sure to keep Weena incredibly close. But he's just so exhausted. He falls asleep. And when he wakes up, total darkness. The fire has died out completely. He is pitch blind in the middle of this prehistoric-feeling forest, and he immediately knows he is not alone.
Suddenly, these soft bodies press against him from literally every side. It's absolute chaos. Pale hands grab at his clothes, his hair, his throat. He can feel teeth nearing his skin. He starts swinging his iron bar blindly into the mass of bodies, fighting for his absolute life in the pitch black against a swarm of Morlocks that are just trying to pull him down.
But then, a sudden light breaks through the canopy. The forest is actually burning. That fire he had started earlier didn't just die, it spread into the dry trees and has become a massive raging inferno. The light-fearing Morlocks are thrown into an absolute panic, which breaks their attack. The time traveler barely manages to escape through a landscape glowing red with destruction. But tragically, in all the chaos and the thick smoke, Weena is lost to him forever.
Part 5. The Final Mystery. Returning to the White Sphinx.
Completely exhausted, he makes it back to the White Sphinx and finds the bronze doors wide open, which is such an obvious trap. He walks in, the doors slam shut, and in total darkness, he has to fight off the Morlocks one last time, just to reattach his control levers. He pulls the lever just in time. The pale hands vanish. He's moving through time again. But he's shaken, he's unstable, and in the panic, he actually pushes the lever forward instead of backward. He travels way past 802,701 AD, going millions of years further into the future to see the ultimate fate of the planet.
And what he finds is a bleak, terrifying, dying Earth. Humanity is completely gone. The sun hangs massive and deep red in the sky. The air is terribly, terribly thin. As snow drifts through the freezing air, the only life he sees are these huge, monstrous, crab-like creatures crawling slowly across a desolate, dark beach. It is a haunting vision of the ultimate silence at the end of time. Finally, unable to bear the sheer horror of it, he throws the machine into reverse.
He crashes back into his 1890s laboratory, finishing his exhaustive tale to a very divided audience. I mean, the journalist is literally just thinking about how this would play in the morning headlines. The doctor remains highly cautious and skeptical of the whole thing, but our narrator, he is deeply affected by the raw terror and the truth he can see in the time traveler's eyes.
To counter all their skepticism, the traveler provides one final piece of proof. 2 strange, fragile brown flowers from Weena. They are biologically unlike any plant known in the 19th century. It's just this heartbreaking shred of tenderness brought back from a terrible future.
Now, this story is a beautifully preserved masterpiece of historical literature. But stepping back for a second, as modern readers, we kind of have to look at the plot holes, right? Let's be real. Is it actually realistic that crumbling books, wooden matches, or a museum made of green porcelain would survive 800,000 years of weather and decay? Scientifically speaking, absolutely not. The Earth's surface would have recycled everything we know countless times over by then.
And what about that evolutionary split? Biologically, human evolution drastically branching into 2 entirely different species in just 800,000 years definitely stretches the limits of realism. But you have to remember, Wells wasn't writing a hard science textbook here, he was writing a stark, urgent warning. The Eloi and Morlocks aren't just monsters for a scary story, they are a dark reflection of the Victorian class divide and the false promise that technology automatically leads to utopia. It's a massive critique of privilege and the destructive force of time itself.
But you know, the story doesn't actually end in that study. The very next day, the narrator returns to the house, only to find the time traveler packing his bags for another journey. He takes a camera with him this time, perhaps to bring back undeniable proof, and he mounts the machine. The machine flickers, becomes transparent, and vanishes again. And he never returns. His ultimate destination remains a permanent mystery.
As the source material so eloquently states, the true mystery isn't whether he went into the past or went back to save Weena or even went beyond the dying Earth. The greatest mystery is what humanity becomes when it forgets compassion, balance, and responsibility. The Eloi and the Morlocks didn't just come from nowhere, right? They were grown from the very seeds that society planted.
Which leaves us with this final, vital thought. The future isn't some distant place waiting for us far, far away. It is being constructed right now. So what kind of future are we building today? Think about that before time carries us to a point of no return. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the path ahead.